Hello and welcome back to the second segment here, and excited to jump in this for you. And let's go ahead and get started. So now we're on to Mind Your Matters. This is the first and the most in-depth portion of the whole mental wealth training and the framework. So in this section, we're going to talk to you. So Mind Your Matters. Again, so thinking of what are you grateful for today, and we're going to jump into the practice. And then I term these practices because that's really what they are. Every day or every time you do this, it's a practice to not necessarily get better for some reward, but just to get better at knowing yourself and how this tool can help you build mental wealth and add to your toolkit. So let's go ahead and join in the next section. Again, making time for yourself, making space for yourself, get your favorite beverage. Like I have my coffee in a couple hours. This is going to be tea. When I want to focus. This works best if you're on your laptop or desktop. If you have to use a phone, that's great. That's great too, right? And then when it comes to taking notes, whatever way you want to take notes, if you have a big whiteboard and markers, if you have a notepad, however you do, but make it your space and make it as comfortable for you to be able to focus and really soak this in. But let's go ahead and get going. Again, are you giving yourself the presence of your present, the present that is your presence? And a reminder that take a break if you need, and that there is help. So here's our flow. And here's a tip, pro tip, if you want to call it that, but just a tip. If you're ever making a to-do list, because agendas for meetings or trainings are nothing more than a to-do list, really. And when you break that down, the first thing, like when you make the list, is I should have had on here one more thing, but when you have a to-do list, the first thing is make a to-do list so you can check it off. So you build momentum initially. And that's something I learned a long time ago. But anyway, these are the four things that we're going to hop into today. And let's go ahead and get into it. How are you feeling? And for this section, now that if you're watching this all in one sitting, great. But thinking if you broke this up, but still answer the questions again. So in your journal, how are you feeling today? And I'm feeling peaceful and powerful and optimistic and grateful. And if there's not a word on here, because I shared this with some folks in some of the other trainings, and they're like, what I really want to say is, but the word's not on there. So here's what you do. Print this off, find where that word kind of fits, even if it covers a couple things, and just add it. Like, although Dr. Wilcox, helped create this wheel, that doesn't mean that you can't add the wheel on. So getting into Mind Your Matters, and this is a core piece, as you'll see, it's the core piece as opposed to just an outlier of the framework. And diving a little deeper, so I'm going broad to deep here, thinking of the sum of the moments of your life, the life map and your themes of your life. So really, as you complete this, another kind of thing to keep in mind is if you're thinking about your life, the full context of it, there's going to be things that you haven't thought about in a long time. So some of those can be challenging, some of those can be joy-filled, some of those can be like, yes, I overcame that, and I'm still here, kind of like moments and memories. They can come to you when you're doing this practice, but also in your dreams, or when you're out randomly and you're eating something or you're sipping something or you smell or taste or hear something, right? Or they can just come at you at sometimes at the best times, at some other times at the most inopportune times. So thinking in terms of giving yourself grace through all of it, because you're human, you're not a robot, and you have a lot of things going on at the same time in your conscience and your subconscious and so forth. So when you're thinking about the sum of your life, I want you to pause real quick here and think about in some of these areas. So where have you traveled? What jobs have you had? The identity part of your identity, some of the wins in your life, the relationship. So pause just to not necessarily write anything down, just kind of think about this. So I'm going to pause, go ahead and hit pause and think about it. and then we'll move on to the next section. All right. So now that you kind of thought about that, you have some thoughts of some of those categories. I want you to think of your life in thirds now. So if you're 45, I'll use 45. I'm 47, but 45 is a nice number to break up. So you break it, think of your life in thirds, from time you're born to when you're 15, from 16 to 30, and so forth, right? And for each of the categories of the following slide, which is similar to the slide I just showed you, I want you to think of and write down, and you kind of make a chart of this. On one column, it's the great moments. The others, it's challenging moments. And then you have the grid kind of set up. So great moment, birth to 15, great moment, 16 to 30. That's how you kind of think about this, right? So, and here are the categories. So here are your categories. I'm going to go back one more. Think of that. And so ultimately, you'll have 12 moments. So 2 categories, 3 time periods, and a great moment for each of them. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. And there's the categories again. So hit pause if you need, and then go ahead and rewind it to the other slide if you need to. And we'll come right back. All right, welcome back. And so here's an example of, again, you're remembering who you are and were. So for me, in the first third of my life, I raced bicycles at the Major Taylor Velodrome. And a velodrome is a racetrack for bicycles, for those who don't know. And you can totally Google this, or however you want to search for it. And for me, it was sports, and it was kind of a note to myself. It was a time where I did something that off the beaten path of my peers who were doing football leagues and baseball leagues and soccer or football leagues. I raced in a cycling league, and also got to learn about the history of Major Taylor, who was a cyclist, black cyclist, a cyclist who was black, and at a time when cycling was second only to maybe soccer in the world. Forget the NBA, forget the NFL. Cycling was it. So now we're on the practice 2. You have your 12 items, and now you're going to draw. Now comes to me, kind of the fun part, because you get to put things in, get to see a map of your life. And this has been some of the most eye-opening pieces for many folks who have gone through this training, not the self-paced, but the other trainings I've done and keynotes and whatnot. So what you're going to do, you're going to have this kind of drawing. It's good, and just an easy template. And what you're going to do is, on the top of the part, you're going to put the great moments, and on the challenging moments on the bottom. And during this training, you're only going to do the 12, but ultimately this is an exercise you could take like an hour on, or 2 hours, and you can use all kinds of creative ways, either it's whiteboard or poster board. And so what you're going to turn it into is this. And this is your life map. And there have been folks who take this people who've taken this training, and they put it on the mirrored doors to their bedroom closet, or their closet, and they drew with a marker and used Post-it notes. Some people use colored pencils and whatever. Just make it so it's yours, and it's something fun, because you're looking back in your life. How often do you take moments to look on what you've done and what you've lived and how you've changed and those kinds of things? But really, there's no judgment, and it's your life. And this isn't something you have to share unless you want. Most people don't, and that's cool. That's really cool. So I share mine just to give context, and these are the things I'm comfortable talking about, as opposed to, there's a lot of things that I only talk about with a small circle. So anyway, this is your life map. And so after you have the life map, you're going to give yourself a couple of days. And if you're going straight through and doing this training, give yourself at least an hour or so break to give your subconscious mind to think of what you've just created. And when you go back to your list or go back to your timeline, you'll see themes that come up. And so an example of a thing that came up, and I'll go back real quick. So see, if you look at my life map, and an example of things that came up were was travel all the way from when I was, the first third of my life. My dad took myself and my brothers on a trip to from Indianapolis to St. Louis, a round trip, because he wanted us to have the experience of flying on a plane. And that's it. And so that was like quality moment that I'll never forget. And then I studied abroad in Sweden. I moved to Portland after several moves in the third of my life. But this whole arc of theme of travel, global citizen, and you'll see others of your, some folks, whether it's community has been a theme, or group settings, or initiating things. Like, you'll see themes that come up, and what you want to do with the theme is like these broad strokes, and make a list of the themes and just keep it. And we'll come back to that later in the training. So now you've done your life map. Give yourself some time, celebrate that. And then up next, we're going to dive into the ecosystem of your life and how you can start to be the ecologist of your life. So excited for that. I'm excited for all of it. And I'm excited really that you're making time for yourself. So get up, take a break, or finish your timeline, your life map, and then come on back for the next section. So see you then.